Linda Yaccarino says X, formerly Twitter, is close to breaking even. Linda Yaccarino, who claims she has autonomy under notorious taskmaster Elon Musk, insists the company formerly known as Twitter is close to breaking even as major advertisers are returning. This is according to an interview she did with CNBC today. Yaccarino is handling everything else at the social media company besides product development, which is handled by Elon Musk. She says marketing executives at major brands have been convinced to place ads on X because they are, quote, protected from the risk of being next to potentially toxic content, Yaccarino said. She added that new content controls have greatly reduced advertiser risk. This is probably a big reason why Tesla stock is outperforming so hard today. Any good news with Twitter is good news for you and I as Tesla shareholders, because that means Elon probably won't need to sell any more Tesla stock to fund operations over at X. Tesla stock is up about 1.06% today. It was a lot more impressive in the beginning of trading before the markets started to really take a U-turn. We'll talk about why the markets have taken this U-turn. But at the time of recording this video, the Nasdaq is up 0.14%. Tesla is outperforming the Nasdaq by over 5x today. The inflation report came out better than expectations. Better than I thought and better than Wall Street thought. We were expecting your year-over-year headline number to come in at 3.3%. Last month's reading was 3%. This number actually came in at 3.2%. So even though you're facing a higher comp from last year, the inflation rate still came in lower than expectations. You were not expecting, although, your month over month or your core inflation rate year over year to change at all from last month. We were expecting month over month on both core and headline to be 0.2%. And you were expecting your core inflation rate year over year to come in at 4.8%. Well, your month over month came in exactly at 0.2%. But your core year over year came in at 4.7%. So even on core, you've seen better numbers. This is flying in the face of what we have seen recently, things such as the price of gasoline increasing. A matter of fact, nearly all of the monthly inflation increase came from shelter cost, which increased by 0.4%, and we're up 7.7% compared with 1 year ago. We have been expecting shelter costs to start weakening considerably, Alman said, but it hasn't happened. Despite rising oil costs, energy prices increased just 0.1% in July, and food increased 0.2%, according to the Bureau. However, there was relief for used vehicle prices, which dropped by 1.3%, and medical care services, which were down 0.4%. That was very good news for consumers. Also seeing that the Chinese real estate market is starting to have some problems again. Country Garden has now missed 2 coupon payments that are denominated in US dollars. These payments were due on Sunday. There's obviously a 15-day or so grace period, so we'll see what ultimately happens. This is kind of like Evergrande 2 years ago. And it's crazy to think Evergrande was actually 2 years ago. It feels like it was a year ago, maybe 6 months ago. Now, Country Garden is one of the largest non-state-owned developers by sales and has reportedly missed 2 coupon payments. One of the bonds is for February 2026 and the other is for August 2030. This in conjunction with the other bad news that we have gotten out of China, which is China has fallen into deflation, which is worse than inflation. It's basically the worst thing that can happen to your economy is deflation. Chinese economy has also seen its worst drops in exports and imports on a sequential basis. This looks very recessionary, so a recession is almost certain. And then here domestically, Moody's downgrades U.S. banks and warns of possible cuts to others. Germany is about to head into a recession, as well as industrial production fell 1.5% in June. And that's not to mention WeWork, which domestically here in the U.S. is one of the largest owners of commercial real estate. They are warning of possible bankruptcy as well. That actually happened yesterday. So you have commercial real estate concerns and fears in the U.S. and China. You have recessionary fears in China and Europe. And you have banking concerns over here in the U.S. Well, even though inflation fell more than expectations, these overarching fears are the main problem. That's why the NASDAQ was up considerably today. The NASDAQ at one point was up over 1.2% at the time of recording this video. You're down negative 0.15%. This situation could get better or worse towards the end of the day, but I think this tells us something. I think this tells us we're probably in for a deeper correction. If positive CPI news, better than expectations from basically everyone, did not have a positive effect and at least keep the NASDAQ in green, we have a deeper problem here. So get your cash ready and be ready to buy the dip. Now let's go ahead and get into all of the specific Tesla and EV news. And let me tell you, it's very exciting. Looks like Tesla has sent machinery to the land in which they are going to build Tesla's next gigafactory. This is in the Monterrey region of Mexico. And as you can see, these are some of the developing sites. There's equipment, there is some small structures here already. Keep in mind, this is the plant in which we're expecting to get the $25,000 Tesla, potentially as low as $20,000 Tesla, starting deliveries in the second half of 2024. This is a production facility. Well, you're going to see some rapid expansion to this if we're expecting vehicles to start being delivered in roughly 9 months from now. Things are starting to get moving. This is very encouraging. Illinois' rebate program offers another $4,000 towards purchase of an electric vehicle. This is on top of the already government subsidy of $7,500 via the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, this is important to understand. I don't think a lot of people understand this. If you're buying a Tesla today for this tax credit, it only benefits you if you pay taxes. A lot of people don't pay taxes. A lot of people get tax returns, especially if you have children, things of that nature. Well, starting on January 1st, 2024, this $7,500 tax credit, as well as I believe your state programs as well, become transferable to the dealership upon delivery of the vehicle. So what that means is if you are going to get a Model 3, call it $40,000. Well, if you have a $7,500 tax credit, now you're financing your vehicle at $33,500, and that just means that or $32,500. Apparently I can't math today. Well, that means your monthly cost is dropping significantly. Now, if you're in a state that offers a transferable tax credit as well, that means you could be financing a Tesla for close to $28,000 or even less than that starting in 2024. That's going to make these payments a lot more affordable. If we get this at the same time interest rates start to fall, if the markets are correct in assuming the first Fed rate cut will be in March of 2024, well, that means potentially really good things to come for Tesla as far as demand is concerned. EVs accounted for 8.2% of auto financing in the second quarter. This is up from 1.7% 2 years ago. And according to Sayan Merchant, head of TransUnion's auto finance business, he told MarketWatch that, quote, "It's continued growth in a segment that's not going away. Tesla is still the dominant player, Merchant said, but added that new offerings from other manufacturers, including the Ford Mustang Mach-E, have attracted consumers. Now, I actually seen the first Mach-E, and honestly, I was not impressed for the price that you're paying. Considering I live in Michigan, and that's where the Ford headquarters are, I find it weird that I've only seen one Mach-E so far, but again, I was far from impressed. The UAW's demands would mean unsustainable labor costs for Detroit's three sources. The UAW's demands would nearly triple labor rates to more than $150 an hour per employee at all three automakers, GM, Ford, and Stellantis. Woo! Woo! If you thought the losses were big for EVs, if anything remotely close to this deal goes through, yeah, EVs are even further down the line for these other automakers. This could be to Tesla's benefit. In spite of this, Ford executives plans to boost software revenue for commercial trucks and vans. Ford expects to incorporate more and better software into the trucks and vans in its highly profitable Ford Pro commercial vehicle business and grow revenues by $4,000 to $5,000 per vehicle by 2026, a top executive said on Thursday. They say they will look to boost revenue with software and data-driven fleet services, safety and security services, partial vehicle autonomy, and insurance. Full self-driving licensing, possibly? I don't know. Could be speculation, but that's maybe what Ford is hinting at. In a little bit of bad news for Tesla, you always got to have a little bit of bad news. The U.S. opens an investigation into the fatal Tesla crash in Virginia. Very, very, very sad, but unfortunately for anyone that dislikes the statement, these things don't tend to move Tesla stock or any other automaker stock. If that was the case, GM and Ford would have been bankrupt a long time ago. They would have been insolvent many, many years ago. So it's unfortunate. There's a lot of videos on this. If you search like Tesla news in Google, you're going to come across this. But apparently it's being blamed on the advanced driver assistance system in which this Tesla hit a heavy truck. So not a good situation. But again, it's not something that will affect Tesla stock. According to Zacks Equity Research, Tesla is attracting investor attention. And it goes on to say that Tesla has recently been on Zacks.com's list of the most searched stocks. And it does run through a lot of key things. It gives their conclusion at the end of this article. I will link it down below in the description of this video if you would like to read it for yourselves. As Barron says, Tesla stock is up. Ex-CEO Linda Yaccarino is helping, and they point out that Elon is only focused on product design and that she's responsible for everything else. And again, she has autonomy in doing that as a positive because, hey, a lot of investors have been concerned that Elon is not really fully running Tesla the way he should be, but he's more concerned about X. That's putting a little bit of those concerns to rest, as well as what Linda Yaccarino said earlier, as we discussed in this video, that Twitter is almost break even. That means potentially less selling of Tesla stock that Elon would have to do. Also, from Joe Tetmeyer over here on Twitter, he is showing us a picture of some of the chiller equipment, including pipes, pumps, and other equipment. Take a look at the size of this compared to the workers. I mean, the scale of this is absolutely incredible. and more expansion is a positive for what we're seeing at Giga Texas. Hopefully that means we can start production and deliveries of the Cybertruck here shortly as well. So that is everything you need to know that's happening today, that's moving Tesla stock as well as the EV sector itself. Now, the economic data coming out tomorrow will be PPI month over month for the month of July. That comes out at 8:30 in the morning. We got CPI today. That's the consumer price index. This is the producer price index. So this is the inflation reading for the producer side of things. You're expecting 0.2%. Last month's rating was 0.1%. If the lower, the better for this, okay? Because if producers see inflation, consumers likely see inflation. And that's the bottom line there. I think you probably come in line with expectations at 0.2%. Now, tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning as well, you're going to get the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, and you're expecting this to come out at 71. But some of the biggest components of this survey are the 1-year inflation expectations and the 5-year inflation expectations. 5-year inflation expectations are expected at 3%, and 1-year inflation expectations are expected at 3.3%. This would be down from 3.4% at the last month's Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey, and your 5-year inflation expectations expected to remain the same as last month at 3%. Tesla's option activity on the day today is 48% positive, $110 million worth of hedge fund and institutional orders, and 614 of them here on the day. So it's a smaller option day overall. There's less dollars flowing into Tesla as far as options, but the order size and amount is off the charts, to be honest. So that is going to do it for this video. If you learned something or you like my perspective, or at the very least you want to stay up to date with all of this information every time a new video is posted, hit that subscribe button as well as like the video. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.